The funny thing about revenge is that it starts with something small. For me, it was a white envelope, or rather, the absence of one. I'm Kayla, and I've always been the invisible daughter, not the successful influencer like my sister Mackenzie, or the charming trust fund baby like my brother Evan. Just there. The quiet one who works in tech security and shows up to family events exactly on time, never early, never late enough to make a scene. This Thanksgiving was no different. I pulled up to my parents' sprawling estate in my sensible Volvo, watching my sister's Range Rover gleam in the circular driveway like a trophy. Inside, the house smelled of sage and wealth, that particular scent of people who hire others to cook their holiday meals. Kayla, darling, my mother Arceus Diaz, Sandra's voice carried that artificial warmth she reserved for public appearances. She air-kissed my cheek, careful not to smudge her perfect lipstick. You're looking comfortable. I smoothed my black dress. Designer, but understated. Thanks, Mom. The living room was a showcase of forced family harmony. Mackenzie held court on the cream leather sofa, documenting every moment for her followers. Evan lounged with a whiskey, already 3 drinks deep. My cousin Caroline caught my eye and gave me a small, genuine smile, the only real one I'd seen so far. Everyone to the dining room. My father Holden's booming voice commanded attention. He stood at the head of the mahogany table, playing patriarch like it was his favourite role. Which it was. I took my usual seat, far enough from the action to be forgotten, close enough to observe. The turkey arrived on a silver platter, perfectly bronzed and obviously catered. Small talk bounced around like a tennis match. Mackenzie, your latest campaign is brilliant. Evan, how's the new yacht? Did you hear about the Hendersons' divorce? I picked at my food, watching the performance unfold. Then, my mother stood up, practically vibrating with excitement. Before dessert, we have something special. She produced a stack of crisp white envelopes. In the spirit of gratitude, your father and I wanted to share our blessings. One by one, she distributed the envelopes. Mackenzie squealed when she opened hers. Evan whistled. Caroline looked uncomfortable, but appreciative. Even my cousin Rowan, usually as overlooked as me, received one with a practiced smile from my mother. I waited for mine. And waited. The conversation resumed. Plates were cleared. Dessert arrived. Individual pumpkin tarts with gold leaf, because heaven forbid we share a pie like normal people. No envelope appeared before me. Mother, I said quietly during a lull, I think you missed me. The table went silent. My mother's face performed a complex dance of emotions before settling on confused concern. Oh, Kayla, dear, we thought, well, you're so independent. You never want our help. We didn't want to offend you. Mackenzie smirked behind her wine glass. Evan suddenly found his phone fascinating. How much was it? I asked, my voice steady. $5,000, Caroline whispered, not meeting my eyes. I nodded slowly, stood up and smoothed my dress again. Thank you for dinner. I need to head out. Early meeting tomorrow. But you haven't had dessert, my mother protested weakly. I'm watching my sugar intake, I replied, the lie smooth as honey. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I walked out, spine straight, heels clicking on the marble floor. No one followed me. Of course not. In my car, I opened the trunk and reached for a small lockbox hidden under the spare tire. Inside was a flash drive labelled RS Evidence and a folder thick with documents. 5 years of careful collection, of quiet observation, of playing the good, forgettable daughter while piecing together their web of lies. My phone buzzed, a group text from my mother. Thank you all for a lovely evening. Remember, family is everything. I smiled, thinking about the encrypted files on that flash drive, about my grandfather Richard's real will, about my father's shell companies and my mother's forged signatures, about how they all forgot one crucial detail. I do cybersecurity for a living. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Ty. Did you finally do it? I typed back. They just gave everyone but me $5,000 gratitude gifts. Time to show them what ingratitude really looks like. You sure about this? He replied. I started my car, watching the warm lights of the family estate shrink in my rearview mirror. The flash drive felt heavy in my pocket. 5 years of evidence, of patience, of playing the perfect victim. They think I'm quiet, I texted back. Let's show them what silence really costs. 5 years ago, I sat in my grandfather Richard's study, surrounded by the smell of old books and leather, trying to process the news of his sudden death. While my mother orchestrated the perfect funeral downstairs, I found myself drawn to his computer, the one place nobody else would think to look. What are you doing? Ty had asked over the phone as I described the encrypted files I'd found. Just checking his email, I'd said, fingers flying over the keyboard. Something feels wrong. Grandpa was meticulous about his finances, but Mum's saying everything's too complicated to sort out. The encryption wasn't difficult to crack. Grandpa had used my birthday as his password. That should have been my first clue about who he really trusted. Now, sitting in my apartment after the Thanksgiving disaster, I pulled up those same files. The will was crystal clear. Estate value $700,000, to be split 4 ways between his grandchildren. My share should have been $175,000, plus interest. My phone rang. Ty. You're not going to believe what I found, he said without preamble. Your father's company, Hamilton West Holdings. It's a ghost. The money flows through it like water, but there's nothing solid there. No real business, just paper trails leading to offshore accounts. I opened my laptop. Show me. Ty shared his screen, walking me through the digital breadcrumbs. See these transactions? They line up perfectly with the dates your grandfather's estate was supposedly distributed. They laundered his money through this shell company, then redistributed it to private accounts. Can you trace the accounts? Already did. 3 guesses who they belong to, and the first 2 don't count. I leaned back, letting out a slow breath. My parents. Bingo. And here's the kicker. They've been doing this for years. Not just with your grandfather's money. There are dozens of suspicious transactions, all carefully hidden behind legitimate-looking business deals. I pulled up my email and started typing. What are you doing? Ty asked, giving them a chance to fix this the easy way. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The email was simple. You owe me $182,000. You have 48 hours. After that, I whistle-blow. They won't pay, Ty warned. I know, but now I can prove I tried to handle this privately. My phone exploded with notifications almost immediately. First came the family group chat. Sandra. Emergency family meeting tomorrow. Attendance mandatory. Mackenzie. OMG, what's happening? Evan. Can't we handle this after the weekend? Caroline. I'll be there. Then the private messages started. Mum. Kayla, honey, call me immediately. We're worried about you. Dad. This is completely inappropriate. We need to talk. Mackenzie. What is wrong with you? I ignored them all and opened another file on my laptop. One I'd been building for years. Every forgotten birthday, every excluded vacation, every time they'd praised Mackenzie or Evan while ignoring my achievements. And beneath those personal slights, the real evidence, bank statements, forged documents, suspicious transfers. My phone rang again. Caroline. Hey, she said softly when I answered. Are you okay? Better than okay, I replied. I'm finally doing something. A pause. They're saying you're having some kind of breakdown. I laughed. Of course they are. It's easier than admitting they stole from me. What do you mean? Ask them about Grandpa's will sometime. The real one, not the version they presented. Another pause. Kayla, I think I might know something about that, but not over the phone. Can we meet? Tomorrow, before the family meeting. Coffee shop on 5th? I'll be there at 8. After we hung up, I sent one more email, this time to a secure account only I could access. Every piece of evidence, every file, every record. If anything happened to me, it would all go public automatically. My phone buzzed with a text from Rowan. Whatever you're doing, be careful. They're not who you think they are. I smiled, thinking of the flash drive in my safe. No, I typed back. They're exactly who I think they are. They just don't know who I am yet. Opening my laptop one last time, I set up the dead man's switch. If I didn't enter a code every 24 hours, everything would be sent to the IRS, FBI, and every major news outlet in the state. Ty called again. You sure about this? Once you start, there's no going back. I thought about that empty place at the Thanksgiving table where my envelope should have been. About years of being the family afterthought. About my grandfather's betrayed trust. They had 5 years to do the right thing, I said. Now, they get 48 hours. And then? I closed my laptop, thinking of all the careful notes I'd taken, all the evidence I'd gathered while playing the quiet, forgettable daughter. And then they learn why you should never underestimate the person who has nothing left to lose. Caroline was already waiting when I arrived at the coffee shop, 2 steaming cups on the table. Her hands fidgeted with a manila envelope. They don't know I'm meeting you, she said as I sat down, but there's something you need to see. She slid the envelope across the table. Inside were documents, old ones with my grandfather's letterhead. I was his assistant before I married into the family. These are copies of drafts he made of his will, the real ones. Why didn't you say anything before? Caroline's eyes darted to the window. Fear, money, shame, take your pick. She leaned forward. But that's not why I called you here. The family meeting today, it's not a reconciliation. It's an intervention. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. What kind of intervention? They've got a psychiatrist coming. They're going to try to have you committed for paranoid delusions. I set my cup down carefully. Of course they are. Kayla, don't go there. I'll be there, I cut her off. But first, I need copies of these documents. 2 hours later, I pulled up to Caroline's house where the family meeting was scheduled. My mother's Bentley was already parked outside, along with several other expensive cars. I activated the recording app on my phone before walking in. The living room looked staged. Concerned faces arranged in a perfect semicircle. A man in a tweed jacket sat in an armchair, notepad ready. My mother's eyes were red-rimmed, carefully smudged mascara completing the worried parent aesthetic. Sweetheart, she started, voice trembling, we're all here because we love you. That's new, I replied, remaining standing. My father stepped forward. Kayla, these accusations, these delusions about stolen money, they're symptoms of something serious. Dr. Harrison is here to help. The psychiatrist cleared his throat. Miss Fletcher, your family has shared some concerning emails. Have they shared the bank records too? I interrupted. The shell companies? The forged documents? You see? Mackenzie burst out. She's completely paranoid. I pulled out my phone and played a recording, my grandfather's voice clear and strong, reading his will. The room went silent. That's not, my father started. Inadmissible, I finished. Maybe. But the digital trail of where his money actually went, that's very admissible. Enough. My mother stood up. Kayla, we're prepared to be generous. $10,000 right now if you drop this tantrum. I laughed. you're offering me 10,000 of my own money. That's almost impressive. You ungrateful little... Evan started, but Rowan cut him off. Wait, he said, looking pale. What do you mean, her own money? Show them, Caroline, I said quietly. All eyes turned to Caroline, who slowly pulled out the envelope from this morning. These are the original will drafts. I notarized them myself. My mother's perfectly maintained facade cracked. You kept copies after all we've done for you? Done for her, I echoed, like what you did for me, or Grandpa. Dr. Harrison was scribbling frantically now. My father moved toward him, probably to damage control, but I was faster. I sent a pre-prepared text. Everyone's phones chimed simultaneously. That's a summary of Hamilton West Holdings' activities for the past 5 years, I said calmly. Every transaction, every shell company, every cent of laundered money. The full report goes to the IRS in, I checked my watch, 41 hours unless I get what I'm owed. You're bluffing, my father said, but his voice shook. Try me. Mackenzie stood up, designer heels clicking on hardwood. You want to play hardball? Fine. She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and held it up. A video started playing, teenage me at a family gathering, being mocked while everyone laughed. Remember this? She sneered. Delete that email, or everyone sees what a pathetic victim you've always been. I smiled. Post it. Show everyone exactly who you are. I'm sure your followers will love seeing how you treat family. Get out! My mother hissed. Get out of this house! I walked to the door, then turned back. 41 hours? That's all you have left to fix this legally. Rowan followed me out. In the driveway, he grabbed my arm. Get out of town, he whispered urgently. They never corrected the will. They forged the executor's signature. This goes deeper than you know. I gently removed his hand. I know exactly how deep it goes. That's why I'm not running. Back in my car, I called Ty. How's the dead man's switch? Active and armed. You okay? I watched through the window as my family erupted into arguments, their shadows dancing behind Caroline's curtains, like puppets with cut strings. I'm fine, I said, but they're not going to be. The parking garage was empty at midnight except for 2 cars, mine and Rowan's. He stood in the shadows, checking over his shoulder every few seconds. They'll kill me if they know I'm here, he said as I approached. Then make it quick. He pulled out a folder. I found these when I was clerking at the estate law firm last year. I didn't understand what I was looking at then, but after today, he handed me the papers. It's worse than forging the executor's signature. They changed the entire guardianship structure. Under the fluorescent lights, I scanned the documents. They made Mum the legal guardian while Grandpa was still alive, without his knowledge. The paperwork is dated 3 months before his death. They were planning this. My hands shook slightly. Why are you showing me this now? Because I saw their faces today when you played that recording. They're not just worried about money anymore. They're scared. He stepped closer. And scared people do desperate things. My phone buzzed. Ty calling. Everything's set, he said when I answered. If you don't enter the override code every 24 hours, the files go straight to the IRS, FBI, and 3 major news outlets. Good. How's the backup plan? Ready. I've got copies on servers in 4 countries. Even if they somehow get to your files, they can't stop this. Rowan watched me end the call. You really thought of everything, didn't you? I had 5 years to plan. They'll try to stop you. Let them try. Back home, I found an email from Mackenzie. Just a video attachment, no message. I clicked play. It was footage from my 16th birthday. I was opening presents, trying to hide my disappointment at each thoughtless gift. The camera zoomed in on my face as Mackenzie announced she was getting a car. Everyone laughed at my expression. "Delete that email," came the text message seconds later. "You were always just bitter, always jealous, always less." I forwarded both the video and threat to my secure server, then replied, "Thanks for the evidence of long-term emotional abuse. My therapist will love it." My phone rang immediately. I let it go to voicemail. "Kayla?" My mother's voice cracked with tears. "Please stop this. You're destroying everything for no reason. We can talk about this. We can fix this as a family." I played the message twice, noting how her voice changed from pleading to manipulative in those few sentences. "Classic Sandra performance," Ty called again. "Your father's making moves. He's trying to transfer assets offshore." "Let him try. The IRS is already watching those accounts." "How did you manage that?" "Anonymous tip last month about tax evasion. They've been monitoring everything since then." A knock at my door made me freeze. Through the peephole, I saw Caroline. "I had to come," she said when I let her in. "I helped notarize some of Sandra's documents, the forged ones." She pulled out her phone. "I kept copies. I kept everything." "Why?" "Insurance. I knew someday someone would need proof." She sent me the files. "I'm sorry I didn't help you sooner." "You're helping now." After she left, I reviewed the new evidence. Caroline's files were the missing piece. Proof of deliberate fraud, not just convenient oversight. My phone lit up with a text from Evan. "Whatever they did, I had nothing to do with it. Leave me out of this." Then Mackenzie. "You think you're so smart? Watch your back." Then my father. "We raised you better than this." I blocked them all and called Ty. "How long until the first deadline?" 22 hours. "You sure you want to go through with this?" I thought about the video Mackenzie sent, about years of calculated exclusion, about my grandfather's trust being betrayed. "They had decades to be decent human beings," I said. "They had 5 years to make this right. They had 48 hours to return what they stole. And now they get to learn what happens when you underestimate the quiet one." A final text came through, from Rowan. "They're meeting with lawyers tomorrow. Big firm, be careful." I smiled, thinking of the dead man's switch, the offshore servers, the years of collected evidence. They could hire every lawyer in the state. It wouldn't matter. "You're not stopping, are you?" Caroline had asked earlier. My answer hadn't changed. "Not until they bleed." I set my phone aside and opened my laptop. Time to prepare the first leak. Just enough information to make them panic, not enough to trigger legal intervention. Yet. The clock ticked toward midnight. In less than a day, their perfect world would start to crumble, and I would watch it fall, piece by carefully orchestrated piece. The timer hit 0 at exactly 9 a.m. I watched from my office as the first anonymous post went live on a whistleblower subreddit. "Major real estate mogul's shell company exposed." Within hours, it was trending. Ty called at noon. "Your father's company stocks just dropped 30%. How long until—" "There they are," he interrupted. 3 different news agencies just requested company statements. My phone buzzed with notifications. I ignored the family messages and opened the financial news app. Headlines were already appearing. "Hamilton West Holdings under investigation." "Questions arise about real estate empire's funding. Whistleblower alleges massive fraud scheme." My mother called 17 times in 2 hours. On the 18th, I picked up. "What have you done?" she sobbed. "You're destroying everything for no reason." "No reason?" I kept my voice calm, like there was no reason to steal my inheritance, no reason to forge legal documents. "We're your parents. We were protecting you from yourself." "By stealing from me?" "You ungrateful, She caught herself. Darling, please. We can fix this. Come home. We'll talk. Like we talked at the intervention. She hung up. My office door opened. My boss walked in looking concerned. Kayla, there are reporters in the lobby asking about Hamilton West Holdings. Something we should discuss? I handed her a folder. Actually, yes. This is my 2 weeks' notice, and this, I gave her a USB drive, is evidence that should protect the company from any fallout. She studied me for a long moment. You've been planning this for 5 years. Good luck, she said simply, and left. By 3 p.m, the story had exploded. Someone leaked my mother's charity records, showing years of fake donations and tax fraud. I hadn't even planned that one. My phone rang again. Caroline. They're falling apart, she said without preamble. Sandra's crying, Holden's threatening everyone, Mackenzie's talking to lawyers, and Evan just got arrested. What? PPP loan fraud. Apparently, he used fake business names to collect COVID relief funds. The IRS connected the dots after the whistleblower post. I leaned back in my chair. That wasn't even my evidence. No, Caroline laughed darkly. Once people started looking, everything started unraveling. A text from Rowan popped up. FBI just entered your father's office. This is really happening. Another from Ty. Your mum's charitable foundation is being audited. Someone anonymous sent proof of wire fraud. Then Mackenzie. I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything. I replied with a single image, the video she'd sent me of my 16th birthday, now posted on a viral Twitter thread about family emotional abuse. My phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognise. Ms. Fletcher, a professional voice asked. This is David Morris from the Wall Street Journal. We'd like to discuss your family's financial practices. No comment, I said and hung up. Caroline called back. You're not stopping, are you? I watched another news alert pop up on my screen. Real estate, empire crumbling. Fraud investigation expands. Not until they bleed, I confirmed. They will, she said quietly. But what about you? What's your endgame here? I opened my laptop, pulling up the website I'd been building. Still heard, the homepage read, with a subtitle, Supporting Survivors of Family Financial Abuse. I'm building something, I told her. Something that matters. Using their money? Using my money, the money they stole. I paused. Want to help? She was quiet for a moment. Yes. God help me. Yes. By evening, my father's company had lost 60% of its value. My mother's social circles were deserting her. Evan was out on bail but facing federal charges. Mackenzie's influencer empire was crumbling as followers discovered her family's true nature. Rowan sent one final text. They're meeting tonight? Emergency Family Council. You're not invited, obviously. Obviously, I texted back. I worked late into the night, finishing the Still Heard website. Every page, every resource, every support link was a weapon forged from my own experience. Other women would find help here, strength here. My phone lit up with a final message from my mother. Whatever you want, name your price, please. Just make it stop. I looked at the family photo on my desk, taken years ago when I still believed in their love. Then I looked at my computer screen, where the Still Heard mission statement glowed. Because silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes it means you're planning. I typed back 3 words. Too late now. Then I turned off my phone, opened a bottle of wine, and watched the evening news tear my family's reputation apart, one headline at a time. The IRS agents arrived at my father's office at exactly 9 a.m. I watched the live news coverage from a coffee shop across the street, sipping my latte as they carried out box after box of documents. They found the offshore accounts, Ty said over the phone, all of them. How's Dad taking it? According to the security feed I'm watching. Not well. He just threw a chair through his office window. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Prominent real estate developer under federal investigation for tax evasion and money laundering. Caroline slid into the seat across from me, looking exhausted. Your mother's charity foundation is done. The board just voted to dissolve it completely. How many fake donations did they find? Millions. She was using it to write off personal expenses for years. Caroline pushed her hair back. But that's not why I'm here. Have you seen Mackenzie's lawsuit? I nearly choked on my coffee. What lawsuit? She handed me her tablet. The legal document was clear. Mackenzie was suing our father for emotional coercion and fraudulent contracts. She claims he forced her to sign documents for fake businesses, Caroline explained. She's trying to distance herself from the fraud charges. Throwing him under the bus to save herself, I mused. How very Mackenzie. My phone rang. Rowan. The FBI just left my office, he said without greeting. They had a lot of questions about the estate law firm and those guardianship papers. What did you tell them? Everything. I'm done protecting them. He paused. But listen, there's something else. I found records of payments to a private investigator. They've been having you followed. I smiled. I know. I've been feeding him fake information for months. The coffee shop's TV switched to breaking news. Social media influencer Mackenzie Fletcher accused of running Ponzi scheme through fashion brand. Caroline and I watched in silence as reporters detailed how Mackenzie had been embezzling from her own company, using investor money to fund her lifestyle while the business ran at a loss. I didn't know about that one, I admitted. None of us did. Caroline shook her head. She was running her own scam the whole time. My phone lit up with a text from Evan. They're freezing all our accounts, even my trust fund. What am I supposed to do? I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and showed Caroline the Still Heard website. Look at what I've built with some of the early settlement money they tried to buy me off with. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the resources. Legal aid, financial advisors, support groups, all specifically for victims of family financial abuse. This is incredible, she whispered. It launches next week. Want to be on the board of directors? She looked up, tears in her eyes. Yes, God, yes, Rowan called again. Your mother's having a breakdown. She's threatening to expose everyone's secrets. Let her, I said. I've already exposed them all. The news kept coming throughout the day. My father's company under federal receivership. My mother's social circles publicly denouncing her. Evan facing additional charges for cryptocurrency fraud. Mackenzie's fashion brand investors filing class action lawsuits. By evening, my phone was flooded with messages. Mum, please make it stop. We're still your family. Dad, you've made your point. Name your price. Mackenzie, I'll tell them you were involved too. Evan, I need money. Please, I'm desperate. I ignored them all and called Ty instead. How's the dead man's switch? Still active, but Kayla, they're not just bleeding anymore. They're drowning. I watched another news alert pop up. Fletcher, family estate to be auctioned for restitution. Good, I said. Caroline touched my arm. What happens now? I showed her the final piece of my plan, a TED Talk invitation to launch Still Heard nationally. Now, we build something meaningful from their ashes. I closed my laptop. They thought money was power. I'm going to show them that truth is stronger. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Rowan. They're saying you planned this for years, that you were always going to destroy them. I typed back. They're right. I did plan it. While they were busy underestimating me, I was busy documenting everything. They taught me that family means nothing without respect, so I taught them about consequences, Caroline read the message over my shoulder. "You're not stopping, are you?" "No," I said, watching another news van pull up outside my father's office. "I'm just getting started." The sun set over the city as headlines continued to roll in, each one another nail in my family's gilded coffin. They'd spent years building their empire on lies. I'd spent 5 years planning its demolition, and now, watching it all crumble, I felt nothing but peace. The invitation arrived by courier. Thick, cream paper, my parents' last grasp at elegance. "Please, join us for dinner. Just family. One last time." "It's a trap," Ty said when I called him. "Of course it is." I straightened my blazer in the mirror. "That's why you'll be monitoring everything from the security system I installed last week." "The one they don't know about?" "Exactly." The family estate looked different now. The perfectly manicured lawn was overgrown, the fountain dry. A foreclosure notice peeked out from behind a bush. I rang the doorbell. No answer. The door was unlocked. Inside, the house felt hollow. Half the artwork was missing, empty squares of lighter wallpaper marking where paintings used to hang. My mother's prized crystal vases were gone from their pedestals. They sat at the dining room table, my parents, looking decades older than they had at Thanksgiving. The table that once hosted 20 now held 3-place settings. "Where are Mackenzie and Evan?" I asked, remaining standing. "Mackenzie fled to Europe yesterday," my mother said, her voice hoarse. "Evan is dealing with his legal issues." "Sit," my father commanded, then caught himself. "Please." I took my seat, noting the familiar power play. They'd positioned me with my back to the door. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table, recording. "What do you want from us?" my mother whispered. I reached into my bag and withdrew a sealed envelope. Inside was a contract, prepared by my lawyers. "It's simple. Transfer my rightful share of Grandpa Richard's estate, the full 25% plus interest, and sign this statement accepting liability for the fraud. In return, I end my media connections." My father's hand shook as he reached for the papers. "This isn't just about the money anymore, is it?" "It never was." My mother started crying. Real tears this time, not the carefully manufactured ones she'd perfected over years of manipulation. "We were protecting you. You were always so different, quiet. We thought you needed to learn to fight for yourself." "By stealing from me? By excluding me? By gaslighting me when I asked questions?" "We're your parents," my father said, but his voice cracked. "No." I stood up slowly. "You're my genetic donors. You're my cautionary tale. You're the reason, still heard, will help thousands of other people escape family financial abuse." "That website," my mother spat. "You're using our scandal to build your empire?" "I'm using my truth to help others find theirs." My father studied the contract. "If we sign this, the media leaks stop. The social media campaign ends. The website continues, but without your names." "And if we don't?" I smiled. "Then tomorrow's headlines will include Grandpa's real cause of death, the one you covered up." They both went pale. "You wouldn't," my mother whispered. "Try me." My father's hand trembled as he signed the contract. My mother followed, mascara tracking down her cheeks. I took the papers and stood up. "One last thing." They looked up. "You didn't lose a daughter today. You gave her away years ago, piece by piece, slight by slight. I'm just making it official." "Kayla, please." My mother reached for my hand. I stepped back. "Goodbye, Sandra. Goodbye, Holden. The lawyers will be in touch about the transfer." At the door, I turned back one last time. They sat there, 2 broken figures in an empty house, surrounded by the ruins of their empire. My phone buzzed. "Ty, you okay?" Better than okay. I walked to my car. How's the recording? Crystal clear, including the part where they basically admitted to covering up your grandfather's death. Good. Hold on to that. Insurance for if they try anything else. Caroline was waiting at my apartment with wine and takeout. How did it go? I handed her the signed contract. They folded, like bullies always do when someone stands up to them. And now, I pulled up the Still Heard website on my laptop. The launch countdown showed less than 24 hours. Now, we help other people find their voice. I open my email to find hundreds of messages from people sharing similar stories. Look at this. We're already making a difference. They'll hate you for this, Caroline warned. They already did. At least now it's for something that matters. My phone lit up with a final text from Rowan. It's done. The estate transfer just went through. You won. I looked around my apartment, at the vision board for Still Heard, at the years of collected evidence now serving as inspiration for our resource library, at Caroline working on our outreach program. No, I typed back. We all won. Everyone who's ever been silenced just got a little louder. The sun set over the city, painting the sky the colour of change. Tomorrow, Still Heard would launch. Tomorrow, thousands would find their voice. But tonight, in the quiet of victory, I finally felt heard. The auditorium lights felt warm on my face as I stepped up to the podium. 3,000 people sat in perfect silence, waiting. In the front row, Caroline and Rowan gave me encouraging nods. Ty monitored the live stream from backstage. They called me quiet, I began. Passive, invisible. My voice carried through the space, stronger than I'd ever allowed it to be in my family's presence. But someone forgettable doesn't build an empire from silence. The screen behind me displayed the Still Heard logo, now recognized nationwide. In the past month, our organization has helped over 5,000 people escape financial abuse. We've provided legal aid to families fighting fraudulent guardianships. We've given voice to the voiceless. I clicked to the next slide, a series of headlines about my family's downfall. My story made headlines, yes, but it's not unique. Financial abuse thrives in silence. It breeds in the gaps between family loyalty and family lies. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably another message from my mother. She'd been sending them daily since the estate auction. I ignored it. Today, I'm announcing the launch of our National Legal Defense Fund. Every dollar my family stole from me is being used to help others fight back. Applause erupted. In the wings, Ty gave me a thumbs up. The live stream numbers were exploding. But this isn't about revenge, I continued. It's about restoration, about taking back what was stolen. Not just money, but dignity, voice, power. The doors at the back of the auditorium opened. I caught a glimpse of Mackenzie slipping in, trying to be inconspicuous. She'd returned from Europe last week, her influencer empire in shambles. To those watching who feel trapped, who think speaking up means losing everything, you've already lost everything that matters. Your silence is their weapon. Your voice is your salvation. More applause. Caroline wiped tears from her eyes. My family called me quiet, I said, my voice steady. They should have called me observant. They called me weak. They should have called me patient. They called me less. They should have called me dangerous. Mackenzie stood up and walked out. I continued. Still Heard isn't just an organisation. It's a promise. To every person who's been told to stay quiet, to every victim of financial manipulation, to every survivor of family fraud, we hear you. We fight for you. We stand with you. The audience rose in a standing ovation. My phone buzzed again, this time a news alert. Evan pleads guilty in federal fraud case. After the speech, Caroline rushed to hug me. That was incredible. We've received over 1,000 new support requests just during your speech, Ty reported, checking his tablet. Rowan approached more slowly. Mackenzie wants to talk to you. No. She says she has evidence about Dad's other companies. I smiled. So do I. She's just trying to save herself again. My phone lit up with another text. From my mother. Watching your speech. You've become everything we feared. I showed it to Caroline. She laughed. They still don't get it, do they? They never will. I typed back. No. I became everything you ignored. The after-party buzzed with energy. Survivors shared stories, lawyers offered services, financial advisors volunteered expertise. Everything my family had hoarded was being transformed into resources for others. Miss Fletcher? A young woman approached, clutching a notebook. Your story helped me find courage to fight my uncle's fraudulent guardianship of my grandmother. Thank you. More people came forward, each with their own story of silence broken, of power reclaimed. This was the real victory. My phone buzzed one final time. My father. We should have seen you coming. Someone like me? I typed back. You should have feared me from the start. Caroline touched my arm. Ready for the board meeting? We need to vote on expanding to 3 new cities. I looked around the room full of survivors becoming warriors, at Ty coordinating our cybersecurity team, at Rowan reviewing cases with our legal volunteers. The quiet ones, I told Caroline. We're not really quiet, we're just waiting for the right moment to roar. She smiled. And now? I picked up my folder of expansion plans. Inside was a photo, the last family portrait before everything exploded. I'd kept it as a reminder, but now I dropped it in the shredder. Now we build something louder than their silence ever was. The room hummed with purpose, with power, with promise. My family had built their empire on lies and manipulation. I'd built mine on truth and transformation. They'd taught me that family means nothing without respect. I'd taught them that silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes it means you're planning. Sometimes it means you're winning. Sometimes it means you're about to change everything.